So a few weeks ago, I did a video comparing WATA, VGA, as well as CGC, the leading companies in video game grading, based on their cases, their grading service, as well as like their overall presentation. In that video, I said that WATA has the best overall service. However, I am not a fan of their cases. I also mentioned in that video that there is going to be new cases released to encapsulate their newest graded games. WATA reached out to me and they said, look, we're willing to grade 3 of your games free of charge, and you can give your honest thoughts on the new cases as well as the overall grading service. Well, that's what I did. I sent them my VGA 85 plus Pokemon Red, my VGA 85 plus Pokemon Blue, and then I wanted to also test the CGC grading service, how it crosses to WATA, and I sent them my 9.6 A plus Dark Dual Stories Blue Eyes version. The whole process took about 2 weeks for them getting there as well as coming back to me, and they just arrived at my door this morning. So in today's video, we're going to be taking a deep dive into these new WATA cases, see how they hold up against their competitors as well as the predecessor WATA case. So without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, so this is the old WATA case. You guys remember, if you watched my old video, I was very expressive in how much I did not like this case, but they hit me up. They wanted me to review their second model, and this is what we got back. This is Pokemon Blue. If you guys remember, this was a VGA 85 plus, and I told you guys that this was pulled right out of a blister, so there was no damage whatsoever on it. I had no idea why it got hit so hard when it came to the grade, and I knew eventually it would get crossed over to WATA. I just was waiting for these new cases to come out. I really dislike these, man. Like give me a break. Look how bulky and chunky this is. Now, the first thing that I want to talk about is the form factor. You can see here that this one is shorter. It's also skinnier width-wise. In terms of like the sideways, like it's the same size pretty much. It just feels substantially smaller in the hand. I'm not sure like why that is. It might be because this one is so thick and like these locking mechanisms are so chunky. This one definitely seems more streamlined, so I'm a bigger fan of this. They called me and they asked me what my thoughts are. I told them like this was pretty much a home run in terms of the remodel of their cases. I really like what they're doing here. So let's move this out of the way now, and I want to compare with CGC as well as VGA. This is the CGC one. Now you can see here they're pretty much identical in size. In terms of depth, this one is a little bit wider, and then in terms of like width, this one's a little bit skinnier in that regard. However, you guys heard me when I said I hate that the label has like this little thing here, man. I cannot stand this. Like, this is definitely not the way to go. This is definitely the one that I choose. Like, go watch that older video that I did. Every single complaint that I had, they pretty much completely knocked out of the park. They fixed it up, and I mean it's splendid. It just looks super premium. Look at the way, for example, that this blister is being held while this one is being held. If you take a look at this one, because they didn't leave too much space in between these guys right here, it doesn't have the same levitation effect that this one has. Like, take a look at this. This looks like it's literally levitating inside of the case, while this one, because it's so close to these, as well as like this extra recession in the blister here for the corners, you can see here like it doesn't have that same levitation effect. It looks really nice. On the back it doesn't show as much. Like here you can see that there's a whole, but once you flip it this way, like it really does look like it's levitating. So I'm a big fan of that. I really like it, man. They really did a good job on this. In terms of the grading, I told you guys that this was going to be a gem, because I'm telling you, like, I pulled it out of the blister and it was like spotless. I am not a big fan of how VGA grades. Like, it really is a shot in the dark. There's no consistency to their method, and this game was really nice. Like, the only thing that there was wrong on this is, if you take a look here, there's like 2 or 3 scratches here on the cellophane that's wrapped around this game. Pretty much everything else is spotless. There is not another thing wrong on this game, and I understand why it got the A plus, it didn't get the A plus plus. It makes sense. Like, I agree with this grade. That is a huge plus factor to me. I really appreciate the consistency from WATA. I appreciate the consistency from from CGC. Granted, I do wish that this got the 9.8 A++. I'm not gonna really like pick a lot of hairs over like a plus here, an extra plus. This one I totally understand, and it's very fair. I'm very happy with this. But not only did I grade Pokemon Blue, I also graded another copy of my Dark Duel Stories, and if you guys remember, this one was actually a 9.6 A+. So this came back a 9.6 A++. Like I definitely prefer the way that this case looks, man. It looks super premium here. Just compare these two and look at this. Which one do you think has like more class to it? And in my opinion, I mean, like there's just no question. The colors that they use here, the gray, the blacks, everything is fantastic. Like it just looks like a museum piece. This one looks like Windows XP. Like I don't know how else to describe it, man. The back here, it has more information on the game release and stuff like this. It has like cover artist Kazuki Takahashi. Like that's so amazing. I really like stuff like this. It has the details, although like this one has the details over here, but still, I don't know. Like I'm a big fan of these new cases, man. And not only this, like let me show you guys the clever way that they designed these cases to be put together. So right here you can see that there's an added part right here, while on this one there's like a small recessed area, and they actually clip together. They literally come together like this. How clever is this? In terms of storage solutions, this is just incredible. One thing that I do wish that they did, because they gave us this, is maybe put the grade over here. I think that would have been the extra cream on top. You know, sometimes people don't have the room to display them like this. They will have to put them like in a library style. And I think the grades here would have been a nice touch. Actually, I really think that they should do this. It defeats the purpose of this, right? Like this is so intuitive, the way that they made this design here. I think if they add it here, I think it would be amazing. Like that's how you take it from an A style case to an A+, where it really looks good on every angle. That's just my suggestion. I do think that you can add it here, and you can have a library style display on your shelf. So that's the only thing that I probably add. In terms of like just the way that the case looks. I guess I can show you guys now the last game that I graded with them, which is my VGA 85 plus Pokemon Red, which is now a 9.8 A++. This was truly a flawless game. Like it really was perfect. There was nothing wrong with it. Pulled it out of the blister myself. It was perfect. It was truly a specimen. It got the rightful grade. Very happy about that. I do respect that there is a difference in grade here. I did not think that this was as clean as my Pokemon Red, and the grade shows. Very happy about that. I think that that was very fair. And to show you guys the final comparison, let's talk about this dinosaur of a company called VGA. Here, the form factor, I really like that it's smaller. Okay, like there's no denying. I like the smaller it is, the better, right? It takes up less space. It focuses on the game more. Smaller is always better in my opinion. The other thing that I like about this is the clarity. As you can see here, the acrylic that they use here, it's way more clear, right? This one has a blister layer plus the polycarbonate layer. This one only has the acrylic. Like this lays right on top. You get less protection on this, but the displayability, the museum like look definitely pops here more. But that's pretty much where it ends in terms of pros. Every single thing otherwise, in my opinion, is better on the WATA. Number one, I like the grading aspect. I like this a lot more. I do not think that the box and the seal should be the same grade like it is here. I'm not a fan of that. Number two, I really like the way that they display the information here. I'm not a fan of the way that they display it here. There's mixes of pink and gray here. Like, why do they have Zelda here? Like, what is the point of that? I'm just not a fan of the overall VGA case, other than the form factor and the clarity, right? Like this feels really nice in the hand. This is not to say that this doesn't. Like this does feel great in the hand. It's just the smaller feels a little bit better. In terms of the back, this is where this takes like a huge leap forward. They don't even put anything on the back here. Oh man, VGA. You can see here as well, like the glue marks for the acrylic where they glued the pieces together. Obviously there's none of that here. The design here is super intuitive. Like once this thing clicks in, you cannot change this. You can't get rid of it. You can't open it. None of that. Huge fan of these new cases. In my opinion, this puts WATA at the top now. Like there's really not a lot of things that are holding them back anymore. Like I told you guys in the previous video, I thought that their grading system was very fair. I thought CGC was a little bit harder to grade with, and that kind of was on display here, right? Because we got like a small plus over the grade, but you could say like that's kind of like an outlier type of thing. But you can say like that's just the process of business. You know, sometimes you have quality control differences. In terms of the comparison with VGA, like it's really night and day. The quality of this, the website, just the ease of access. There's no barrier to entry. You don't have to go through hoops. It's not a paper submission. This is a grading company for 2010, and unfortunately I just don't think that they have what it takes to survive another decade or two. That's pretty much it when it comes to just the overall grading aspect. However, there is one thing that I am not a fan of when it comes to WATA, and it's not really with WATA themselves, it's more with Collectors Universe. They have this policy of insuring the item for what it's worth. I'm not a fan of that. Like, WATA did not actually have this rule until they got bought by Collectors Universe. In my opinion, a grading company should mind its own business and just focus on the grading. They should not be looking at what a game is worth. That to me tells me that you're looking at the aftermarket, and I just don't think that that is the way to go about running your business. Again, I'm just a small fry. I'm not one to tell WATA what to do, but that's just my opinion. I do think that if you were to submit this yourself and you did not have the promotional gift that they gave me, this would cost you like $500, and I just think that that's too expensive for a game like this. Imagine if you bought it when you were a kid and you've held on to it for so long. Now you have to make an excess $500 payment to get this game graded. I just think that that's unreasonable at all, and that's the only thing that CGC has on top of this grading company. CGC does not look at the aftermarket grade. They do not upcharge you. They never upcharge me on any of the stuff that I submitted. On this one, I would have been upcharged if I submitted at like a lower tier or whatever it is that they offer. This is not to say that they do it because like they're trying to cash grab you or whatever. It's actually because they're insuring it so that if they misgrade or anything goes wrong later on, they find out that this game is not authentic. They find out that the game is, you know, a lower grade than what they thought it was. They are willing to pay you out the difference. So that to me is a great way of retaining credibility and transparency with your customer base. However, you should be able to opt out of it. I do not think that you should be forced to pay more because WATA valued the game a lot higher than what you evaluated it. If I had bought this 20 years ago, I would have only paid $50. I should not be paying the evaluation of $500 just because WATA deemed it to be. But that's my opinion on that. Obviously, Collectors Universe has been doing this with their PSA grading. They've been doing it with pretty much every service that they offer. I'm not a fan of it. I'm not a fan of the fact that you can't opt out, but pretty much everything else that they do, in my opinion, is exactly how I would run my own companies. I'm a huge fan of these cases. WATA completely knocked it out of the park. Hopefully, we can someday see some changes to the PSA cases because those are definitely trailing behind now. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Let me know your thoughts on these new cases. Are you a fan of the new WATA case, the VGA case, or the CGC brand new cases that came out about a year ago? In my opinion, like this is a no-brainer in terms of overall layout, overall aesthetic, just a complete package right here. Incredible work. Let me know your thoughts, guys. Like the video if you enjoyed this comparison. Subscribe if you want to see more collector-based content. And if you want to support me further, you can pick up your own Gardner binder, linked in the description. It's made by a collector for collectors like yourselves. You won't find anything better. Other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed and I hope you learned something. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.